Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I just saw something in my comments. They gave me a couple different topics to think about or discuss with you guys, and it's something I deal with myself, with clients, everything else. And that's this whole idea of taking days off after lower body days. And again, I like the pretty much the majority of strength coaches out there these days use upper lower splits. Right? I know you guys see, well, this guy on YouTube, no one's talking about YouTube. I'm talking about strength coaches. Majority of YouTubers are not necessarily coaching people. So what you're seeing as popular fads and trends doesn't mean that that's what actual coaches are doing with their lifters, with athletes and everything else. And, in athletes, I mean everyone from football players to, MMA guys, whoever they're coaching in the weight room, whoever they're the strength coach for. But athletes in general, we want to take a day off after our lower body days, and we usually do upper lower setups. It's just like I do. I do what? For me, on my conjugate system, it's Monday max bench day, Tuesday is max squat or deadlift day, Thursday dynamic effort bench day, and Friday is dynamic effort squat and deadlift day. Okay. Now, I do supplemental work and restoration work and conditioning on the off days, but we don't want a real training day that's performance-based the day after. Now, the question that brought this up, someone said, hey, I was looking at Candido's 6 weeks program, and I was looking at some of the DUP programs. I'm like, well, I don't know of any powerlifting DUP programs, so I can't help you there, brother. I don't know of any. Like, no coaches that I know use them. So you're on your own as far as interpreting that. But he had mentioned Candido, and he's like, Candido has you, I guess he had said bench, and then you squat or whatever the day before. But he's like, on the West Side type system, they usually have you start the week with a bench session of some type. So it's always like an upper day and then a lower. Like, well, yeah, it makes sense. I've done it the other way. Like, I thought I would be clever and innovative, right? And it's like, well, I'll do a squat and a deadlift day, and then I'll bench the next day. Well, it doesn't work out too well on the recovery, does it? I benched less every single time as a result of it. And you end up feeling beat up from doing it. Now, people will say, but at powerlifting meets, don't they squat and then bench? Like, yes, they do a squat and then they bench. Let me state that again. They do a squat, and one of them will be a max. And by a squat, they do 1 rep. And when you're doing max effort training on a max effort system, do you come in and hit a max squat and then lay down and rest and eat food and do nothing else? Okay, at a powerlifting meet, you're going to bench after having done nothing else but a max squat. You're going to get to lay around and rest for a while. It'll be a minimum of an hour, if not longer. You can lay around and rest and eat. Get more carbs in. That's what you're doing. And you're hyped up. Alright, that's totally different than training. What I have found is that coming in and hitting a true max effort day, and then doing all the supplemental work behind it, all that back work and leg work and all that training volume, what happens? It's hard to bench the very next day. Your bench pressing will suffer. Now, for people who say, but doesn't the upper affect the lower? Not to the same degree. Upper body training is easier on your recovery than lower body training. Okay, it's easier. So let's say you come in and you have some sort of bench day. What, you're going to hit a max bench or a speed bench? You're going to do some other pressing, floor presses, some overhead press, upper back work, maybe some pull-ups, maybe some pendlay rows or chest supported rows, little arms, some triceps. Okay. Your delts, pecs, lats, arms are relatively fatigued, but it's just upper body stuff. It doesn't affect your entire system the same way. It's not putting heavy weight on top of your body and pressing you down with the axial loading. Okay. You haven't destroyed your back. It's not the same. You can come in and hit PRs the next day, right? It's totally normal on a system like what I use and others use to come in and hit a true max and hit a PR on a squat or a deadlift the next day after your heaviest bench day of the week. It's just not a big deal. upper body matters, but you haven't usually fatigued the spine. If we have, it's been minor stuff, some standing presses or whatever. Maybe you did some high pulls. Okay, but that's not that fatiguing on your overall back. Not enough that it's going to impact your squatting and deadlifting after you had a good night's sleep and some food. The other way around will. You come in and you do either a max squat or a deadlift followed by a bunch of supplemental work, or even a speed day. Tons of speed volume, then all your other supplemental lifts. Your back, your traps, your erectors, okay, all that stuff is fatigued. And there's a systemic response to axial loading. You've loaded up the spine a lot. And usually for a significant amount of training volume. Your upper body lifts will suffer. They'll suffer. Okay? They absolutely will. They absolutely will. So that's why it's done that way. I've seen it in myself. I've noticed it even with clients and stuff. It doesn't work. You can do it, but it's not going to be as effective. Performance is going to suffer. And guess what, guys? Most people care about their upper body. It's at least half of our training. Now, even more importantly, I want people to think about something else. People who don't do strength stuff, who care mostly about hypertrophy, a lot of times have multiple days for their upper. They'll split their upper body up even further. There's more muscles involved in the upper body. They prioritize it, really. I mean, how many guys out there technically have a leg day? I mean, even if they have a back day on a 5-day bro split, they have 3 days dedicated purely to upper body. Back day is half upper, half lower. Leg day is their lower day. The upper body gets priority. There's more muscles in the upper body. There's usually more exercise selection. Yet it's easier to recover from. So if you're going to have more exercise selection, and usually you can take shorter breaks because they're smaller muscles, they don't destroy you as quickly as lower body stuff does. So you can squeeze a little bit more total work in terms of sets and reps, even though the work on the body itself is much lower. You can usually squeeze more in faster. But upper body is a little more complicated, has more complex musculature, so you need a little more variation, need a little more exercise selection. It recovers better. It just doesn't beat you up as much. So it makes sense to do it first. So if you're going to do 2 days in a row, to do the upper body and then the lower body. Now we kind of come over, though, of that raises the question of, gee, Jason, you're opposed to the 6-day upper-lower for most people. Yeah, I'm not saying in a perfect world, in a totally perfect environment where you don't have a job or anything, you can't make it work. You guys watched me do the 7-day-a-week upper-lower for a while till I burned out. Having a perfect lifestyle, I was sleeping 10 hours a night, eating over 4,000 calories a day. Like 4,500 calories a day with 10 hours of sleep. No stress other than my YouTube and the coaching, and I wasn't coaching as many people at that time, right? I had less clients, less total responsibility, okay? And even then I burned out. Got some great progress, but I don't think it works any better. I don't think it works any better at all. So we come over to that point of when people say, well, if training volume is equal, why can't you do 6 days? Well, we fall exactly into the problem. Your lower body days versus your upper starts to suffer. If every time just about you're doing an upper body day, you've just done a leg day with any volume before, what happens? You're fatigued. It affects your performance. It affects your performance. Or you start half-assing the lower days. Now, how many of the guys you see out there who do the 6-day upper-lower, I'm not going to name names because there are some on YouTube, how many of them still have relatively weak lower bodies? All of them do, because they half-ass their leg training. That's the only way they're getting away with it. That's how they get away with training that way, is that they are really lazy with their lower body work. And they're not lifting a lot of weight, and they're not very strong with their legs. We're talking guys who squat 400 pounds and stuff, who again, they have internet jobs. Okay? They're not pushing their lower body that hard. That's how they're getting away with it. If you're actually training hard, this is going to be problematic. You need days off after your lower body days. You need days off. Or it doesn't have to be days off completely from training. You can do restoration work. You can do active recovery. You can do conditioning. But nothing where you are measuring performance, right? Because on our true training days, we care about our performance. We care about our numbers. We care about our workload. A serious lower body day before an upper body day is going to impede your performance. It really needs to go up or lower in a day off. You really need days off after your leg day from real training. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.